Okay, guys. So, are you ready to grow your business? And the purpose today is from talking to a lot of business owners, we're seeing a lot of guys feeling a little bit beat up, if that's the right word, about the recent changes that we've seen, and perhaps some of the optimism about your business being diminished. And perhaps some business owners are even saying to us that survival, just surviving in business at the moment, is their goal. And we very much believe that the opportunities for every business owner are still abundant for those who know how to access them and take advantage of them. So today is really about understanding some of the fundamental systems to prepare yourself for growth. So some of you will be feeling bullish and optimistic, perhaps some of you less so. And wherever you sit on that scale, this is really about, as ever, the practical things that you can be doing to move you forward over the next 12 months and beyond. So I just thought I'd just get a little bit of a temperature check on the room. How was the last 12 months for you? How are you feeling at the moment? Just a bit of a reflection. Any thoughts in the chat box it would just be great to understand where is the sentiment in this room at the moment regarding the last 12 months. So that's one question I want to ask. And the other question, I think this one is really, really important, is what perhaps didn't go well for you, but you acknowledge them as a mistake that you've made in running your business that you need to learn from and apply going forward. That's a really important question. So both of those questions to you. Let's see what's come up in the chat box. Okay. Yes, some mixed feelings, let's just say. Thank you, Sarah. I've heard that one a lot recently about the impacts of AI and perhaps just like, what do I do with this? Murad, firefighting. Oh gosh, 19 years in business, and that one never goes away. I've seen that one so often. Chris feeling positive, marvelous, marvelous. Portia, oh, good morning, Portia. Good to see you again, Portia. Promising and positive. Right. How are you feeling? What have you learnt really about mistakes? Murad, consistent marketing. Yes, Murad, I think you were on the marketing session a few months ago about the most common marketing mistakes. And yeah, one of the big ones was inconsistent marketing. So that's great that you've acknowledged that. Jenny, better than last year for us. It's been a long haul since COVID. Talk a little bit more about that. Naresh keeping steady. Laura mediocre. Okay. Portia need to have a closer oversight on financials. Oh, thank you, Portia, for the very honest reflection there. I really appreciate that. It frankly it shocks me, if I'm honest, about how many business owners don't really have a handle on their numbers. They don't really have a handle on not maybe they have their P&L. Yep, that's not having a handle on your numbers. It just shocks me how few really understand the depth beyond just the basics of the P&L and what's in their bank account. And that's not setting yourself up for growth. That's not even really setting yourself up for survival. And I have to be honest there. It's setting yourself up for a lifelong struggle that's probably going to end badly. So thank you, Portia, for the honesty, because I know you're not the only one in that boat. So it's an important question. What have you learned that you can improve? And that's a theme that's going through this morning because this is the typical response we see. Well, whether your business is doing well, whether you're struggling, or wherever you are on that scale, it's I'm just going to work harder. I'm going to push harder. I'm going to work more hours. I'm going to do. do more. And we call that the hamster wheelers. The hamster wheelers. The average business owner in this country, yeah, some of you are smiling at that one. The average business owner in this country, various surveys have shown, are working somewhere around 55, 60 hours a week. Now that's 50% more than your team members typically, um, especially if you've got families as well. That means a lot of
Yeah.
business owners are trying to squeeze in extra hours at night, weekends, and stuff like that. It's relentless. It's relentless. How many of us have got the the time or the brain space to squeeze in more hours? It's just it's yeah, it's a no-no. And yet that's the default setting for many people. And those hamster wheelers are setting themselves up for burnout more likely than success. And so just slogging harder. And I raise this because I think it's personally I see it glorified by a lot of people online. The hustle, the grind. Let's go for it. Let's get up earlier. You know, it's like really. I mean, that works for a few outliers. I get it. Yeah, that does not work for the average business owner. If it did, those of you putting in those 60 hours would be fantastically successful, rolling in cash, all those good things. It doesn't work. The stats do not show that that works. So that cannot be the solution, guys. It cannot be to bury yourself in the emails and the workload and just hope that that's the facilitator to you getting better results. So let's smash that belief system right now. Some of you will get this. Maybe some of you are still resistant to it because it's been a default setting for you. But I want you to think about an alternative to just being the hamster wheeler. And here's my alternative. This is my all-time favorite quote on business, on life, on everything. Wish that you were better. There's always going to be challenges. There's going to be obstacles. I said the opportunities are out there. So are the obstacles. Both of those are a given. Both of those are a given. And the best solution that I can propose to any of you here is to be better. Is to be better. And how can you be better? How can you be better? And maybe some of you already got the answer to that. Maybe some of you haven't. Let's give you some ideas because every quarter we run a session actually with the clients that we're coaching, and it's interesting. I did a little survey. This was on Friday morning. The first thing I did was get those guys to share what they'd achieved in 2025. And I was quite blown away actually because so many of our clients told us that actually their numbers were up, their revenues, their profits were at high levels. Not all, but many. And that's in spite of what people are saying about the economy and what's going on in their sector. Regardless of that. So I think it's just an interesting observation, isn't it, guys? That it doesn't have to be your reality. What people are moaning about, complaining about, does not have to be your reality if you focus on being better. And the mindset is critical. Your mindset is critical here. I said I'm here to talk about practical things, and actually getting the mindset right is the start point. Where is your mindset at the moment? Where are your beliefs? And many of you have seen this before, the point of choice, of course, and we've seen a lot of this in the last 12 months. The amount of blame that's going on at the moment, directed at the government and the HMRC and everyone and anyone. And I get it. It's easy to do that. It gets eyeballs on your LinkedIn posts or whatever to be down about the economy, to be down about your sector, to be down about the UK. Um, but it isn't going to help any of you. It isn't going to help any of us. So We have a choice. Every single one of us running a business has a choice as to how we respond. And directing yourself to how can you be better at whatever the challenges are in your business. We've all got obstacles, and constantly asking yourself, okay, right, so how can I be better at X? How can we do better at Y? That's the default mindset that should be there. And if you audit where your, I suppose, where your beliefs are at the moment about your business, about your sector, if you just audit that for a minute, and what I mean by that is just be self-aware of what are you really thinking about yourself, about your business. You know, that belief system will set you up. If you believe that you've just got to keep slogging and keep working those late nights, if you believe that's the answer, then that's what you'll do. If you believe you have to keep discounting to win more customers, more clients, more patients, if you believe that's what you need to do, that's what you'll do. So where are your beliefs? If you believe that opportunity is abundant, you just need to be better, that sets you up for a different outcome. So I think it's very important that you just consider where's your head at the moment? What do you really believe? Because the company you keep, this is the great and also slightly not so great thing about being human, is that we tend to be influenced by the people around us and what they're saying and what they're thinking. So that's why I feel it's very important to be consciously aware of who's influencing your thinking. Who is influencing your thinking? Who's in your immediate peer group? Is it people in your industry who are saying you can't do X, you can't do Y? Is it people in your profession? I mean, this is just an example. We this is us with some of our clients at one of our annual conferences, and I'm very much a believer that you have to surround yourself with people who are who, yes, they're ambitious. We're all ambitious, but their thinking is aligned with how can I be better? What do I need to learn? What do I need to improve? Rather than it's all over. It's terrible. It's depressing. I remember great. I'll share a quick story with you. A guy I was coaching, he ran a bike shop. He still does in Peckham in southeast London, and he said, Prague, this was pre-COVID. He said, Prague, all these bike shop owners are really thinking it's really tough, and you know the industry's finished, and so loads of them just ended up quitting. And then he said, and then COVID hit, and his business went because COVID actually created a massive opportunity for bike shops because people wanted to literally get on their bike, and all those people who just quit because they just believed what the other people in their industry were saying. All those people turned their back on what actually became a great opportunity for that industry. And so it's very important, I think, especially in the last few months, with everything that's going on social media and online about many industries and the economy and the government and taxes and all that stuff. It's very important to consciously choose who is influencing your thinking. And you can consciously curate that should you choose to. You can curate who you choose to which content you choose to consume online and 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 from your peer group. You can choose that. And I think you should. I absolutely believe you should. So as I said, we need to get the head aligned. And by this I mean, you know, who's in your environment physically, online, of course, is massively important now. And what could you change? I mean, we can't change our families, I suppose, but you can control the amount of time you spend with certain people if they're down and negative on everything. That can be controlled. You can certainly control where you consume your content from. 100%. Now, um, I want to mention this as well then. If you're looking for a way forward, what I want you to think about is the habits that you should be building. And I'll talk about some of those habits now. But I love this quote, and I'm a huge fan of consistency in habit building. And James Clear talks about this in his book, of course, Atomic Habits. But which habits have you built that are actually going to be the foundation for growth, whatever your definition of growth is? What are the habits that are going to get you there that you need to be consistent about? And you can apply that to any parts of your life. What are those habits? Because the challenge we all face is that the good habits, and I hope you have some of those, the good habits don't necessarily get you life-changing results quickly. And this is just a graph I share from James Clear's book about the aggregation of marginal gains. Marginal gains was a concept made famous, I suppose, by the British cycling team, their coach Dave Brailsford. You know, how did that team go from a team that had won nothing for years and years and years, and then suddenly within 5 to 10 years they became world beaters. They became champion gold medal record holders and world record holders. How did that happen? And Dave Brailsford talked about this concept: marginal gains, small improvements, but they're made consistently, I would say relentlessly, over time. And this is where most people fall down. They try something, whether it's with your marketing or other improvements in your business. They try something and it doesn't work straight away. And instead of looking at how they can improve and shape that, they give up. And they miss the point here about marginal gains, that those improvements compound over time if they're done consistently. If it's stop-start, you're not going to get the improvements. So whatever you think the improvements are that you need to make over the next 12 months and beyond, think about this principle of marginal gains and the consistency that's required. I'll give you an example. LinkedIn, as many of you know, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and a lot of the people we support say, oh, yes, I need to use LinkedIn, but they're not applying this principle. They're not consistent, they're not relentless, and they're not giving it time. So what result do they end up with? Zero. And we're very much seeing this hockey stick curve. We're very much seeing this with our LinkedIn now, that the first couple of years, it was a trickle at best. Now it's probably our best strategy. But it's required that relentless consistency. And you can apply this concept to marketing. You can apply it to the habits you need with your time. I'm going to talk about with your goal setting now as well, and the habits that are required. Because if I talk about our framework for, I suppose, for setting up your success in future, dream, goal, plan, act. And I want to ask you the question: how clear are you on these 4 words? So the dream. We need a dream for. I classify dreams in 2 ways. The dream for your business, but also the dream for you and your life. And the 2 may be very different. The 2 may be very different things. As in, you may want to have the dream. Oh, I'll talk about the difference in a moment. But we need to start with that definition. Then we need to obviously get some clarity through goals. And we need to have plans for how you're going to achieve your goals. And this is a huge oversight for most people running a business. Very few have goals, or certainly anything written down. And even fewer actually have a plan for how they're going to achieve those goals, an action plan. I'm not talking about a business plan, some big fancy 50-page document that you maybe wrote when you started your business or when you went for funding. I'm talking about something much more practical at a quarterly level that says how are we going to achieve X, how are we going to achieve Y, what are the actions, who are the owners, what are the timeframes. People set these woolly, fluffy goals. There's no plan. Therefore, you're setting yourself up for failure. So let's just explore this a little bit further. So the dream, what is it you actually want from your business? And I'm talking about the big picture here, long term, the rest of your life. What do you actually want from owning your business? Many people don't really know. Well, I just like it, Parag. What do you want? Like, so, what income do you want? Is there an exit plan? Like, do you? Oh, I like my business. Great. Are you just going to be there till the day you die? Maybe that is what you want, but maybe it's not. Is there an exit plan? You gonna looking for a trade sale or an EOT, employee ownership trust, sell to employees, or do you just want to step back from it because you want to do other things in life? What does step back actually mean? What does that look like? What age? How many hours? How many days, months are you working or not working? What does that actually? I want to retire. Okay, when does that happen? What does that look like? It depends what you want. 10 years ago, I was working 60 hours a week. It wasn't working for me. I decided 10 years ago, I love my business, I love coaching, but I don't want to be working 60 hours a week. So I set the goal 30 hours a week. That was my goal. I had a very, very young family, and I wanted that opportunity to actually spend some time with them. So 10 years ago, that was my goal. Move me down to 30 hours a week, and then my goal became 50 days off a year when I turned 50. Um, and even though they were only really short term, they were less than 10-year goals. So I'm talking about the big picture here, the exit plan, the retirement plan, the succession plan. Have you defined that? Because otherwise you're falling into that hamster wheel trap. You're just running, running, but where are you taking it all? And it'll be different for everyone, but it absolutely requires some thought. Absolutely requires some thought. And it doesn't have to be what other people are doing. It's you know, the whole point of having your own business is you get to decide what you want to do with it. That's the whole point. So decide. Now, underlying that then is personal goals. So I'm not talking about the long-term planning, I'm just talking about the next year, let's say, the next 12 months. How clear are you on your personal goals? Now, why am I talking about personal goals, guys? I thought this was a webinar about how to grow are you ready to grow your business? Parag, give us the good stuff on that. Well, yeah, but again, if you don't define your personal goals, i.e., what you want, what will happen? What will happen? You may well achieve what you want with your business. You might not. But who comes second? Or who gets ignored in this whole thing called running a business? And it's you. And if you actually want a life, and whatever you mean by having a life, you might want to focus on personal goals. It's certainly something I'm extremely passionate about. Again, like you guys, I love what I do. It fulfills me. It's wonderful. But my personal goals actually come first. My personal goals for this year were written early in December because they're important to me. I define those in four areas, by the way, and this may be useful in terms of how you define this. So, health, I had goals on health. That came first. 5 goals on health and goals and actions. Wealth, that's super important to me as well. Wealth has a number of definitions for me. I have a what do you call it? A financial freedom figure in terms of asset value. I have a personal income figure. I have a how much goes into my pension each year. Well, that's easy, 60 grand. How much goes into my ISAs each year? 20 grand. I have a goal also for my wife. That's all defined. That's all predefined because it's important. Health, wealth, time, as many of you know, time is important to me. My holidays have already been defined and booked. 4 holidays have been defined. When am I having time off? How many hours am I working? It's all been defined. If I didn't define this stuff, I can guarantee you it will not happen. Because we're all busy with emails and being the hamster wheelers, aren't we? So if we don't set the intention on what's important to us, then we default to business, clients. And that's all important. But if this stuff is also important to you, health, wealth, time, and the fourth one I'd add is relationships. So that could be family relationships, spouses, all that stuff, kids. Are there some important goals there for you? If you haven't done this, why? I believe being running your own business should be about more life, more time, more fulfillment, more freedom, and yes, more money. It can only be those things if we define that intention and you define specifically what that means for you. If that stuff is important for you, and it is for me, very. So, um, so we go the dream for the business. What do you really want? What do you, and I say that word intentionally, what do you want from your business? What do you want as personal goals for the next 12 months? And then the third piece of this is what's the dream for the business? So we talked about the dream for you. What do you want from your business? Now, what's the vision, the dream for the business? That as I said, that could be something different. So the, all my team, just to illustrate again why this is important. Does your team know your business vision? For those of you got teams, do they know it? Do they understand it? In my business, everyone knows that our vision is to empower business owners to achieve their dreams. Now, that's not enough, by the way. Just having a business vision, a business dream is not enough. As the leaders of your business, you need to ensure that everyone on your team actually understands what that means. Why is that important? What is the purpose and the meaning of why you are in business? And that's something that will be very personal to each one of you. Why do we exist, guys? That's the question that everyone in your team should be able to answer. Otherwise, why are they coming to work for you today? Why are they coming to work for you if it's not for that vision? What can be the only reason if they don't know this? And if you're looking at, we hear this one so much, oh, Prav, the team don't care as much as I do. It's not their business. You know, why should they're not going to care as much? Interesting belief system. Going back to beliefs. The team are never going to care as much as me. What nonsense. What arrogance. It just means you're a crappy leader. You can't even engage people at why you exist and what your purpose is. And it's arrogance to think no one else cares as much as you. It's just you haven't engaged them with that. The great business, especially if you want to step back at any level, this is a non-negotiable. It's an absolute non-negotiable. And if they don't get it, either you've got the wrong people on the bus or you just haven't articulated well enough. You know, how many videos have you got on this stuff? How much education have you done on this stuff? How many meetings have you done where you presented this and why it's important and had a discussion about it? How much of that is going on in your recruitment process? Because if that communication isn't happening, don't expect them to care. And all of you've got it. I mean, well, most of you've got this vision within you at some level. It's just maybe it hasn't come out or been communicated well enough. And one of my team, Viv, our client manager, the lady there on the right, she came down for our client workshop on Friday, and it was interesting to see. She got to hear some of the stories about what business owners are going through, I suppose. She got to see that firsthand. Now she's not a coach. She's like our sort of client manager, office manager type. But she got to hear and see those stories. And at the end, she just said, right, I really get it now. I really understand what this is really all about. And I get it. And I want to be, you could see it was coming from our hearts. That now that she actually said this to me. She said, this is not a job. I said, yeah, correct. This ain't a job you're just coming for it to get a wage for. If that's what you want, don't work here. The light bulb went off for her. And that's what you want in your teams, is for people to get it, to understand what your business is all about. Assuming you have defined this, of course. So we need your what your clarity on what you want, long term clarity on what your personal goals are, 12 months, clarity on your business vision, long term, and then of course you need to have defined your business goals. I hope you've done that already. And what are we at? The 13th of January. I hope you've already done that. Have you defined the goals in writing? Financial goals, yep. It could be revenue, profit, number of clients, non-financial goals, whatever they are. The biggest mistake we see is lack of specificity. Woolly, vague. Well, we need better clients. That's a classic. We hear that a lot from construction and architect. Oh, better clients. What is better clients? Oh, just ones we like, the better projects. Okay, what does that actually mean? What size of project? What type of client? What type of building? Or what is that actually? What profit level? What geography? What sector? Or we want more profitable clients. Okay, what profit level? What's the figure that you're aiming for on your profit per contract or profit per client or profit per patient or whatever it is that's important there in terms of profitability? How clear are you on that? Better, or that's not a goal. It needs to be quantifiable where possible so that you can measure your progress. You can only measure your progress if, of course, this is all written down and regularly reviewed. At least monthly. At least monthly. Ideally more frequently, but at least monthly. Uh, you're not setting yourself up for growth if this stuff hasn't even been defined. Of course, the marketing plan is the other big component of this. And I talked about this on my marketing mistakes webinar 12 months ago. One of the biggest mistakes we see is a lack of planning. If you do have a goal to grow this year, if you believe there is opportunities out there, you just need to be better at finding them. You need an up-to-date marketing plan. And in that webinar, I go through what that means. But yeah, you need clarity of which strategies are you using, how often, who owns them, who owns them, who has responsibility. I the end of last year, I sent an 8-minute video to our team on our marketing plan because this is important to us. I took them through a recording of what's in our marketing plan, what are some of the new things that we're going to try this year and measure. We've now got 10 different strategies in our plan. It used to be only about 5 or 6, but we realized we need to be better. So we've expanded the plan. We've got some clear owners in there now. We're now currently taking them through what exactly that looks like on a weekly basis and what needs to be measured. But that was the updated process we took them through, that I took my team through to prepare ourselves for growth. It's not going to happen by accident. So the goals for the business, written, clear, the marketing plan. How many of you have got these two in place, up, ready to go? Show of hands or a thumbs? Oh, not many. Not many. Why does that not surprise me? Well, consider yourselves reminded, guys. I'm not saying anything here that's you probably haven't heard before, but I know I need to remind people about this. Three really important things I want to say about how you set yourselves up for growth by having these goals. Three really important things. Number one, and this goes back to the hamster wheel and the hours and I suppose the overwhelm for a lot of business owners. Most business owners' heads. It's a mess, isn't it, guys? There's too much going on in there. It's too much. And you throw in life as well, the rest of life. Yeah, and I'm sure some of you felt this way, haven't you? That it's just like, oh, what do I do next? And what? And the purpose of writing your goals is to cut through the fog, to cut through the noise, and just get clear on what's actually the most important things that you and your team need to focus on. That's why you take the time to write this stuff down, because it's going to get you better results when you have that focus. There will always be that noise. Those of you who've done some coaching with us, you know the first thing I say about your time is there will always be too much to do. There's always too much. The to-do list never ends. So your job is not to try and finish the to-do list or clear the inbox, because that's futile. Your job is to cut through the noise and understand what you need to do that's going to actually have an impact, move you forward, by whatever your definition of move forward is. And of course, this is where Pareto comes in, the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. By setting goals, you're defining what are the 20% of things that you can be doing in your business that's going to have the biggest impact, the 80% impact. What are those things? What's noise and what's actually going to have the biggest impact? That's what goals are. And most people also set too many goals. You want to hone it down, ideally to 3, 4 goals a quarter, and get really clear. The value in goal setting is the prioritization. Okay, what's actually, it's not just what's most urgent or what needs to be done. It's what's actually going to have the biggest impact on our business and move us towards the business vision and also your personal vision. That's why you invest a bit of time doing this. So first of all, we've got to get clear. What's the priority? What's going to have the biggest impact? The second thing is you've got to learn some stuff. To move forward, you're going to have to learn some stuff. And some of the things you guys are going to have to do are going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to feel new. They're going to feel difficult. They're going to feel uncomfortable. And that's good. That's good. That's a good thing. The challenge every single person has running a business is that there will be things in your business that you are unconsciously incompetent about. In other words, you don't know what you don't know. And we see this when we talk to, especially to a business owner for the first time, and we can see and hear the things that are like, "Oh, you don't even understand what you're trying to, the example earlier about knowing your numbers or understanding marketing and things like that. There's things in your business that you just don't even understand, you need to know. And the great thing about learning and exposing yourself to learning is you start to realize, you start to become consciously incompetent. You suddenly go, oh, you know what? I thought I knew understood marketing, but I've just watched that Dan Priestley webinar and I'm like, oh, I don't understand anything about marketing now. You become consciously aware. That's a good thing. That's a good thing because then at least you can start to learn and direct your learning to address that incompetence. So you become more consciously aware and you actually learn some new skills. So each one of you has to think. We're huge fans of learning, of course, but I would like you to direct your learning to the particular areas that you feel you need to improve about yourself, and also that your team do as well. Like what is that? Rather than just doing generic learning. It's all out there on the internet. Most of it's free. I advocate go and use it. You don't need us to go and learn stuff. You just need the internet and 30 minutes a day on average. That's what I do. Um, the second danger point here then is you start to learn stuff and you start to think, oh yeah, okay, I know this now. That's good. That's good. Um, but you become so it becomes a habit. It becomes unconscious. It becomes you become it's like on repeat mode, autopilot. The challenge though we have is we live in this fast moving, fast paced business world. Things are changing all the time. So what we have to do is keep that learning going. So we keep reminding ourselves, okay, what we thought we knew about X, actually, no, it's changed. Things have moved on. And you raise that conscious incompetence again. You can only do that if you stay on top of some knowledge acquisition when it comes to business. I'm talking about business skills. Obviously, your own technical skills. Yes, that's something I'm hoping you're doing anyway for those of you in more technical professions. But I'm talking about business skills here. It is a constant journey of learning. There's no getting away from that. There's no getting away from that. What worked last year or even last month may not work next year. It's just the way it is with business. So we need that focus with written goals. We need constant learning and for you to be clear on what you're trying to learn. Thirdly, you need accountability. And that lady standing next to me there in the middle of the screen, she's actually one of the coaches in my team, a lady called Margarita. And her sole job, her only job, is to monitor and remind people every week about what they're doing against their goals and their quarterly goals and their quarterly plans. What do they need to do every week to ensure they stay focused and move forward with those goals? And she always says this to anyone she meets the first time. No amount of high value work ever gets done without some level of external accountability. And you see that right now in the moment in January, people joining gyms and getting personal trainers. And what's a personal trainer? It's an external accountability system. And the reason I hired her 7 years ago was because the majority of our clients said we want more accountability. They actually wanted more rigor and focus and reminders about what they should be doing against their goals. So they get weekly reminders now. They have to report to her, actually report to her every single week. And she will assess it and mark it and remind her. And she's got a spreadsheet with everyone's performance on it because it works. It works. We all need reminding because we've got all that fog and overwhelm going on in our heads. We need to cut through it and be constantly reminded. So they're the three things I wanted to remind you of when it comes. Just setting some goals is not enough. We need those three other components as well. So, as ever with these sessions, what are you going to do next? What action will you take? You decide. You've got some notes, you've got some thoughts, maybe you've got some real realizations today. What action will you take? You can talk to us about it, of course, but you decide. Go back and see some of those other videos as well on our YouTube channel, should you need to refer back to those. But please decide what you're